Tonight's special presentation of Superman is brought to you by Atari, a family of electronic products that challenge you, teach you, touch your life. Discover Atari and discover how far you can go.
Hello everyone, it's Kevin, and one thing I've learned while making these Atari videos is that developers will make a game out of just about anything. Superheroes? Yup. Movies? Absolutely. Sports? Of course. And then there are games that made me stop and think, wait, somebody actually made that into an Atari game? Now before anyone says it, no, we're not talking about the infamous adult Atari games today. Although, I still think it's hilarious that a console made up of a low amount of pixels somehow ended up with an adults-only library. But that's a rabbit hole for another day. Today, we're sticking with games that are just plain weird. Some are based on movies, some are based on comics, some have concepts that would have sounded ridiculous even back then. But let's power on and look at 10 Atari 2600 games that I honestly can't believe exist. We're going to be starting off with probably the least weird game on this list. And honestly, that's saying something. Because Atari boxing somehow manages to be both simple and oddly entertaining. There's no fancy presentation, no career mode, no championships, just two boxers that look like Geodude awkwardly punching each other until someone falls over. It's basically Rock'em Sock'em robots, if they got really into cardio. It's pretty fun with the different settings that you could use, but it seems way too hard to win by KO. I usually win by time. Whoa, this game starts immediately. Bump and Jump is a game that is exactly what it sounds like. Drive your car, jump over other cars, and occasionally land on other cars, because apparently that's just safer. I love old arcade games because nobody questioned anything. Someone pitched a game where cars hop over traffic, and everyone just nodded. Yeah, makes sense. I wish I could do that in the Toronto traffic. Gorf feels like someone couldn't decide which shooter they wanted to make, so they made several. Each stage changes things up. Different enemies, different objectives, and different gameplay. It almost feels like a greatest hits album of the early arcade shooters. An interesting mechanic is that your shot disappears if you fire again before it hits anything. Also, the sound in this game is really bombastic. But what kind of name is Gorf though? Oh, I see. California Games is definitely interesting. When I think Atari 2600, extreme sports definitely isn't the first thing that comes to mind. But here we are. Surfing, skateboarding, and BMXing. Oh, and hacky sack. Somehow though, it all actually kind of works. The music came out really good and the graphics are good as well. The surfing is very tough though. I've always had a problem with that no matter what version I play. Is this the version that most people should play? Probably not. But the fact that they even attempted California Games on the 2600 deserves some credit. Secret Quest feels like a demake. You know what I mean? Like somebody accidentally put an NES game on the Atari. First of all, there's actual swordplay here. You've got exploration, equipment, keys, different areas, and there's just enemies everywhere. There's also actual progression. It honestly feels like they went to the future and looked at Zelda on the NES. And then they said, we should probably try to make a game just like this. Frankenstein's Monster. This game is weird, but also kind of charming. You're climbing ladders avoiding Frankenstein while trying to stop him. Simple idea, but it's a very strange execution. And honestly, I couldn't stop smiling while playing it though. It's exactly the kind of game that could have only came out during the early 80s. It's interesting and gets tougher as you go on. Unfortunately, it is super rare and expensive, and it was also Data Age's last title as they had to close down due to the video game crash. If you somehow forgot, yeah, they made a Krull game. Krull? Krull? However you pronounce it. It's based on a movie that a lot of people barely remember today. I've never even heard about it until today. But here's the story. Surprisingly, this game is actually pretty ambitious. It had multiple gameplay sections, different mechanics, and a lot more variety than I expected. It's another reminder that movie games have been around a lot longer than most people realize. Now this one surprised me. Gremlins actually captures the feeling of the movie pretty well. I mean, you've got Gizmo, you've got Gremlins multiplying, there's chaos everywhere, but it's surprisingly faithful considering the hardware. Although it does get pretty tough, I still think that if he just followed the rules, this whole movie would have been a lot shorter, and this game probably wouldn't exist. Seeing Spider-Man on the Atari 2600 just feels wrong. Not bad, it's just weird. This is one of Marvel's biggest superheroes, and he's just being represented by a few moving pixels climbing a building. And somehow, your brain still knows exactly who it's supposed to be and what you need to do. It's amazing how much imagination old games ask from the players. I will admit that the mechanics are pretty cool for the time, but I'm just terrible at it. So we're gonna move on. And finally, Superman. One of the earliest superhero games ever made. You rescue people, catch criminals, repair buildings, and find your way around Metropolis. There's actually more going on here than you'd expect. Sure, it's definitely showing its age when you look at it, but considering this came out in 1979, it's hard not to respect what they were trying to accomplish. This wasn't a game where you make Superman go around and punch things. It wasn't even a game where you fly around through rings. It actually tried to make you feel like Superman, even if Superman looked like 4 blue pixels on a red square. It's pretty good, but it takes some figuring out for sure. What I've learned over these Atari videos is that the Atari 2600 is so much more than I ever gave it credit for. I came into this series expecting simple arcade games, and I ended up finding hidden gems, ambitious experiments, weird licensed games, and honestly, a whole new appreciation for the console. And that's all because of your recommendations. Every time I thought I had seen everything that the Atari had to offer, someone would point me towards a game that I'd never even heard of. Now this is going to be my last Atari 2600 video. For now. Not because I've run out of games. If anything, I think I've barely scratched the surface. But there are so many other retro consoles I've never experienced before, and I want to keep discovering them with all of you. So over the next little while, we'll be checking out systems like the SG-1000, Atari 5200, Commodore 64, and plenty of others that I've never really spent time with. But don't worry, I'll definitely be back to the Atari 2600 one day. Because if these videos had taught me anything, it's that this console always seems to have one more surprise waiting for me. So if there's an Atari game you think I absolutely have to play when I come back, leave it in the comments. I'll keep the recommendations, and who knows, they might end up in the next Atari compilation. When you get a chance, hit up our Discord as well. I'm trying to build a community with retro gamers that just love to talk about video games. And more, of course. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you next time. Because one retro adventure might be ending, but another one's just about to begin. And that's a wrap. It is time to reboot. I will see you on the other side.